I'll call the meeting to order. Though we are running a few minutes late. Want to do the roll calls? Aye. Everybody, okay. Everybody say aye.
Hello.
I'm
still here.
All right. So should we first go through the meetings of the previous meeting minutes?
There's information that I didn't have for the executive session that we're going to add, so we're going to just wait on those until the next meeting.
Okay.
So we'll just hold those until the next meeting. I just found out about that.
Okay. So the main purpose of this meeting was to make sure that we kind of finalize all the committee appointments. And I got a few phone calls saying, "Oh, my name is I put my name in, but it's not still there." And so that was the main purpose of this meeting. But I also wanted to have.
So when we go over it, in that where your minutes are, like right after the minutes, there is what we currently have as the committee. So look at that, and any changes we'll add to that.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure you have that in front of me when we talk about the minutes.
Okay. And I also wanted to have the open forum as usual, so we just want to be as quick and short as possible. So we can start with the open forum and then we can go from there. So anybody have anything? The open forum? Okay.
Oh, my question was about the approved minutes. I thank you for the video, by the way, I just watched it today. I believe there were minutes approved in that meeting and I think a couple of others prior, but I haven't seen them on the website yet. So are we getting?
I didn't have them signed yet, is why. So, did you guys still have them? I gave them to you to sign at the last meeting. Like any chance? Did anybody stick it inside?
I don't think I had anything.
Mark's gonna look. If not, we'll print up tonight and we'll just have you guys present it.
Okay.
And I can get them up on the portal.
The portal's different than the website though, right?
The board has to direct the website posters to upload those.
Okay.
Yeah, they are different.
I thought they were, so I was like, wait a minute, I'd asked about the website, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
the board has to direct the web host to put them up.
Right,
She
okay.
has to get the direction from the board.
Got it. Okay. That was my question.
All right. Right.
Oh, just, so are the committees closed right now, or basically they're always going to be open?
Right, it's always going to be open, right? So it was just that some people, they said they had put their names in and their names did not make it to the list, so.
We were just concerned that we didn't want them to feel shut out.
Exactly.
Or that we were missing somebody who desperately wanted to be on.
And I'd like to underscore that point really. The suggestion box was there for obviously for suggestions, as always, but also for people to submit these forms. I heard, and I think some of the other folks on the board also heard people say, well, I went and I handed it to someone at the front desk. I didn't put it in the box, I handed it to someone at the desk, and then it got put somewhere else, and so and so. Apparently, from what we're hearing, as Amar said, some people are saying, well, I turned it in, but it didn't get onto that list, which was generated from the ones that were in the suggestion box. So out of an abundance of making sure that we are including as many people as are interested, we wanted to make sure that we provide opportunity.
So this is as of 5:29 because one of the person who called me, the person's name is still not here. So I don't know if.
And the only ones all the ones that I have gotten out of that I have seen and got my hands on have been scanned and then the hard copies given to Craig.
Okay.
Which is where this came from.
So is it different?
No, that's exactly the same. So, is that person here?
No.
Yeah, we're looking at the same thing.
Okay.
So, do we have a copy of that person? I'm not asking their name, I don't know what their name is, but if there's a person who said that they submitted one and it's not on the list, is there a way that we can get that from them, or?
Sure, I'll follow up, because he did it right in front of me. So he filled out the form and gave it right in front of me. So,
Wow.
so that's why I'm not sure why it's not here. So anyways,
Okay, good.
so Greg has, okay, go ahead.
I wanted to go back to some things that we kind of covered before, but I'm wondering where they are. Job descriptions, titles, pay structure. Anything happened on that with providing that? And full management company. We were talking about CID making a presentation of what else they could do for us and talking to other management companies. Are we still online to do that?
Yes.
So I don't know how much I can say, but we are right now in the middle of a contract negotiation with CID. So once we, so maybe Bruce, you can take that question as to how much, I don't know how much we can.
Well, I mean, the board is in contract negotiations with CID to review the terms of the contract and the nature of their role as the managing agent for the community. And I don't know much, I can say much more beyond that.
Okay. And with regard to the job descriptions and the pay structure, is that going to be forthcoming or not? I mean, we seem to have an awful lot of people on this notice board outside, and I'm not quite sure why we have all of them. I mean, we've got an event coordinator and an event planner. What events are they planning and coordinating? I haven't seen any for our benefit. We're paying their wages, what are they doing?
The event planner is the one that takes care of all the reservations that people call in and rent the facilities. Our event coordinator is the one that's going to be doing, she's working on getting the Oktoberfest set up, be doing the breakfast with Santa, and any other clubhouse events.
So how many hours do they work?
But she also is a front desk employee that works at the front desk. She's not doing any payroll for the event, like being the event planner. She also works front desk.
And the job descriptions and the pay structure?
I can get you this, the job descriptions.
I mean, we asked for that a couple of meetings ago,
But there
I
was-
think.
But there was no need to put them up because we weren't hiring any positions at that time.
No, but we all wanted to know what it was, and we were told that would be provided. I haven't seen anything.
I can get that, not a problem.
I think it was actually the last meeting. I just watched the video about an hour ago, and I think, Adam, you said you were gonna work on.
That was supposed to be available for the financial, it was June 6th, the finance meeting where I was going to present financial information. It wasn't asked at that meeting, but we have a list of different roles and salary ranges. We can't give out individual names and their rate of pay.
Right,
but we
right,
can
right.
give
That
roles
was
and
the
salary
understanding.
ranges. That's not something that I planned on putting on the portal, but if individual members request it, which several have, then I will respond with that information that any member can request of the association in writing.
So if you request in writing, send an email and then he'll respond.
Can't you just post all the job descriptions?
Yes.
What's the problem with that, with the price ranges, with the wage range?
My knee-jerk reaction, it's not a statutorily required information that the association provides to members. I mean, the compensation, those types of things are in a general sort of way, absolutely. It's a money issue, so I want to be sure about that. And so
So you're saying that we aren't able to know the job description of the positions that are offered?
Not online, right? So if you request, what I'm hearing is if you request in writing, you will get it, but not on the portal.
Why wouldn't that be just provided? Why does it have to go
as
just one
part of
person?
management, this becomes kind of is a part of the management side. My inclination is to want to be transparent about the roles, but I'm now straying from Davis Sterling's civil code requirements to a potential
I don't know why.
four corners of a management contract.
I mean, at first
It's
I
not
thought they were.
customary that we could make it's something that any member can request in writing, and we
I
don't
would-
provide.
But why not just put it out there, each person has to do it, so every day you've got 2,000 people, so each person each day, then you're doing it over and over and over? You can't just post that?
I would think that if you have a job available, and I think that one of the concerns that, I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, that the association members have is that if there's a job available, some association members or residents of the community would like to apply for the job. And so, in the same way that job description and pay range might get printed in monster.com, I think we should make it available on things. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to online for the state of California, you can find any job description, including pay ranges. That's public information.
And you can a lot of private companies too. You go in there and it will tell you.
So we're the employer.
And we keep seeing new people, we keep seeing new names, and it's like, what's their job and what are they supposed to do and what's that pay range?
So what we won't be doing. is
I don't
we
want
won't be
individuals,
putting- okay.
not by any means.
So you're saying you see new people and you don't know their names, I want to make sure.
No,
that-
I don't want to know their names.
Okay.
I mean, they wear a badge. But then, we keep seeing more names added to the board outside, more positions, whatever you want to say.
Summer is a busy time of year, so we do hire temporary summer staff. And they are just hired one just for summer to fill in for the busy time.
But
How do you know
Oh,
about
but
it?
that
I
it would
think
be good to
maybe-
know.
Maybe something that isn't clear.
Well, just go ahead and put it
That
up.
we
I
have
don't
been using a
see problem.
service, and I think some of the people come from the service.
For the pool
For
monitor.
the pool monitor?
So we specifically have gone to a service for these people because supposedly we want them to be trained in CPR, lifeguarding, how to install people properly, all that kind of stuff.
Excellent decision.
Right, and so with that in mind, those jobs didn't become announced because we were looking for specifics, right? And that probably names you're referring to, I don't know, but I'm suggesting.
Not names specifically, job titles.
No, but
Maybe I should
if
say,
somebody
there's a ton
shows
of
up-
job titles.
But if something shows up and you see a new face, it's because that's where they came from, right? As compared to it being an open call. And so I think that when we have open calls, we should post the job description and we should post the pay rate, right?
And the qualifications and the duties and all that.
Right, and we should, if possible, consider residents of the community first.
And we
except
do,
if
that's
it's specialized.
And I guess that would bring me to my last question. We know the inspector quit. So what's happening with regard to a new inspector if we have a job freeze? Or hiring freeze?
You just heard that there's contract negotiation going on with regard to the role of CID.
Okay. Be incorporated?
That's part of that.
Thank you.
It's part of the negotiation. We don't know what the outcome is, so I'm not announcing the
No,
outcome.
but that's
We don't
good to
have
know, that's part of it.
I have a question for Jane.
Yes.
What is the company that we use in the gym for repairs?
Excel Fitness.
Excel. And what do they charge us for that?
Right off the top of my head, I don't remember what their monthly price is.
Is there a way that you could get that
Oh, I mean,
information?
I have access to it, yes, sir. I just don't know right off the top of my head how much it would be.
Okay. And then on the suggestion box in there, how often is that checked?
They come in and check on a monthly basis, once a month.
Can we do it daily, once a month? So
Basically,
for 30 whole
the suggestion
days?
box
Yeah.
is every Monday.
Oh, did you say suggestion box? I thought you said when does Excel Fitness come in?
Oh, no.
Check the. Oh, okay.
So every Monday it's checked?
Yes, every Monday the suggestion boxes are checked.
question. So we're paying a service to hire folks for the pool? Is that my understanding?
Yes, it is a contract, yes.
Just for the pool or for the clubhouse as well?
Just for the pool monitors.
For this one.
And do we have any summer, any swim classes this year, or?
They're working on swim lessons. It's just, since we were on the hiring freeze and we weren't able to get anything done until so late in the season, a lot of the instructors and the people were already picked and grabbed, so she's fighting and trying to find us a person, but we're still kind of stuck right now.
Aqua aerobics?
Yeah, for the water aerobics and for swim lessons, yes ma'am.
Oh, because last year,
Christy?
Christy.
Yes ma'am. And as soon as we get some equipment that is stated by the county, once we get that equipment, then we can instill water aerobics. But until we get that equipment on premises, we cannot have water aerobics.
And what equipment is that?
It's a backboard, it's a lifeguard equipment, certified lifeguard equipment. Just, it's basically safety equipment that is recommended by the county for us.
It's almost all here.
Yes, it's all ordered, we just gotta wait for it, now we're just patiently waiting.
But if you want to do water aerobics individually, you can do it. Nobody will come interfere with you.
And I understand the negotiations are going on, but what about the other interviews with the management companies, other management companies? Are we still entertaining those interviews?
No.
Say that's a discussion.
But we're talking to CID about expanding theirs. Sorry.
Good evening, I'm Greg Douglas. I'd like to address this question to Jane, that she could address it to the board. It's in reference to the villas. Has those contracts actually been signed by the president?
So she just gave it to me.
I already got it signed, now we're just waiting for them to give us a certificate of insurance with us as an additional insurer. Once we get that, they already have us at a tentative date to start July 3rd. So if we get all the paperwork and documentation, it'll be ready to go.
Okay. I have one question for Adam. Adam, do we still need to have a letter go to those 5, or would you like me to contact those 5, which I know personally, to let them know that it's in the works?
I really want to see that certificate of insurance.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
right,
concerned
right.
about
You gotta
that
do that
for
first.
maybe following through, but,
Okay.
so.
Right,
so you
right
have
now
to
it's
contact
tentatively on the
It
books.
should,
until
if
we-
they get it to us, it should be within a couple of days. They have to go through the insurance company takes a few days. But if it should be here by the middle of next week. And so then we can tell us by.
Yeah, I resent her another email requesting the documentation, so it should be coming.
My other question is about the CCNRs and the inspections. I know that we've actually kind of fallen behind. Is there an actual, what is the protocol? Because in the CCNRs it says inspections shall be done. Now, if we don't have anybody physically doing those inspections because a young man, ended up quitting, is there somebody that's going to take that position up, or are we just going to wait and let everything keep going by the wayside? Because there's a lot of violations that are going on. And with that, the more time that lapses, the more things get way behind. I can just speak of a lot that's right over here off of Sophocles, and the weeds are up at least 3.5 to 4 feet tall. But I can call somebody on that to get it done. But as I'm going around the neighborhood, there's a lot of lawns that are out of compliance. There's just a lot of trash that's out of compliance. But you just can't keep pushing that further down until you get somebody. So I'm asking the board, what is your protocol to address that? Because it is in the CCNRs, it is documented that you must have those inspections on a regular basis.
I think it's just as Craig said a few moments ago, we're zeroing in on a new deal with
Okay.
Jane will be driving around and doing some inspections.
I'll be doing it Monday, Wednesdays.
Okay.
She'll drive around and do them until we get.
Okay, and that job will be posted if there's somebody that would like to apply for it?
Once we are able to start hiring, it will be posted, because I would love to hire within the community before we hire anywhere else.
Where will they be posted? Where?
On the outside bulletin, right in the front door of the little locked cabinet.
And you
Maybe
know,
also posted on the website, right?
I thought on the web.
I would imagine, and I would suggest that if a job opening gets posted on the board outside, and if anybody wants to, that they should post it on next door for anything that they want, to let people know. So,
I have one last question. In the last HOA meeting, there was a gentleman that asked, why couldn't we add 2 more board seats? Has that been taken under consideration?
I'm sorry, 2 more what?
2 more board seats.
Two more
Since there
board
was
seats.
5 and there's now only down to 3, has the board thought about that or put any consideration into that?
as you may recall, I addressed that when I met with you guys several days ago. I addressed that question that coincidentally, that came up in an executive meeting that we had. And we discussed it, but we didn't do anything because we moved on to other things. I don't know that, I think one of the things we were waiting for was to see how the election lays out, the timeline and all the rest of that. And so we just haven't, we convened on that. We didn't feel that there was anything burning from our side to say, oh, let's go get more people. And one of the questions that had been in our mind, which I think I said to you at the time, was that there is this case that we discussed, a legal case, and that the legal case may be said that we should have a full board. But the case itself really never says that, it doesn't discuss that.
It doesn't.
And so if that case was going to be an impetus for us to say, oh, let's get 2 more people, when we looked at the case and realized that it had no significance.
That case does not pertain at all
Right.
to adding 2 more board seats. I was just wondering if the discussion has been brought up to add 2 more board seats, or did you guys come to a consensus to say, let's just wait till after the election? Then we know we can just kind of put that to rest and just wait till the election comes up and then we have completely 5 seats open. But I think that it would be justified, if at least we're going to address by adding 2 more people on now. I don't see any problem with that. 5 heads are better than 3 sometimes. But I was just wondering if you guys had talked about that in your prior executive meeting.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you, Board.
It's good that you raised that, Greg. If we could just take a moment, what do other people think? Would it be desirable by our community to have 2 more added before the elections? I'm seeing.
How would they be added? I think is part of the question.
I think they can be.
Same way that we just did, same way we got together.
And what are the consequences?
So we have 3 people. Versus 1.
I don't think so, because I think there's consequences if we add them. I seem to recall Bruce saying if we added 2 more people, their term starts right away.
They carry on.
But they
for
could
They
a
also-
year
carry
or
on?
something?
But they could also go back to the same thing how the other 2 members got added on. They would resign at the end of that period of time, completely. So, and the reason why I just wanted to add on to that, why I was asking for the other 2, is that if you're putting 2 more on, there may be other issues that they're looking at that maybe you guys haven't addressed yet, that they can bring to the forefront, that have knowledge and working history as to what's going on within the community. Like your inspections, like the protocol with just the whole residential area. So I'm thinking if these other two people were to come involved, you'd get a little bit more easier pressure off of the three board members. But I also think that you're kind of opening, well, you're kind of opening, yourselves up a little bit more.
You have to remember that our understanding is, and Bruce, I think, has said this, and you will probably say it in a moment, and that is that if we appoint, elect, whatever, two new people, and we say to them, now remember, you have to resign
Right.
at the election, they actually don't have to, right? They could choose to lie and not resign.
Changing circumstances.
Now, some of us have signed very expensive agreements that would be but, so I would say that, but I was going to say something else, and I don't know if you know this. There's a saying about Jewish people, and I'm Jewish, that, you put two Jews in a room and you have 4 or 5 opinions, right?
The lawyer's not listening to this.
So when you say, that there's only 3 of us, you gotta remember that it's really that we have 6 or 7 or 8
I will
opinions.
not be writing this down.
It's on video.
You've got those comments verbatim, right?
I got it.
I really thought of that. I've been observing
But you see,
the committees.
so we have many, many opinions.
I would point out, though, to Greg's point, there's a really important point that I think is wrapped up in what Greg is saying, and I want to underscore it, which is the more members and residents that we get involved in these issues, the better off we're going to be, because it brings more folks to the table who have history, who have knowledge, who have experience. And I would say that's one of the reasons I'm so excited by these committees that we've just now set up and got going. That it really, really helps. I would agree with the point that Greg's making. We do need all those things. And I have an ability right now, I'm going to use an example. I can talk to Todd Wheeler by phone right now about issues on the exterior, and if I put him up here, I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't do it. I couldn't call him and talk to him because it's against the law. I can't call up Amar and talk to him about things that are going on the exterior, but I can call Todd. So I would say the ability that Todd has to help things, it's probably greater right now in the seat that he's sitting in, and I feel that he's delivering tremendous value, and there are others too. I don't want to list them all by name. I'm just going to use Todd as an example. He's doing great things, and I really appreciate that he's doing those, and it's because of where he sits in this structure. And I feel that we are accomplishing a lot of what you're suggesting about bringing those in, which is something that previously didn't exist.
And that's really why we held this meeting tonight, was to go over the committee thing, because in our last executive session, what we said was, well, we're not sure. And so let's clear that up so that we have that and we have the input of everybody. So again, we may already be doing that.
Thank you.
On the other hand,
Yeah, as I had started saying before there were a bunch of people coming on, about the committees. I've talked to several members of different committees, and I've been impressed with how hard they've been working, the knowledge they have, and what they can contribute. And I think since the committee started, they can contribute so much. So I personally don't think we need another 2 members. We have the 6 or 8 members sitting, giving you guys really great advice. We'll guide you, and I know you're going to listen to them. So I think it's
That is kind of the whole idea of the committees, right? So you guys are the experts, and we will listen to you and form our decisions based on that. Yes.
So with regard to the committees, when and how do we report back to you?
So the committee charters that were approved by the board and they were distributed out to everyone, I mentioned that minutes are needed so
Right.
that we can see what final decisions. But in addition to that, talk to us, call us. I mean, we do that. You and I do, and I do with others on both committee or all committees.
We have bids to redo the furniture.
Awesome, and I saw that just like this afternoon. So let's bring them up.
Okay, so we looked at replacing or reupholstering and found that it's better to reupholster looking at the fabric. We had this company here come out and their bid for partial furniture.
Could you come around this side so that people can hear what you're saying? Because I'd love if they can hear too.
So for partial furniture, right out here, these chairs, their bid was $9,000. To do all of these chairs, the chairs out here, the couches upstairs, including the card table and the chairs up there, with this company, it was $12,000. They're willing to do this in stages, so that it doesn't impede the use of the facility, so like they would take half of the chairs, and in a week they would be back.
So could we slow down just a second? Because this is important stuff. I'm seeing some numbers that don't quite match to that. I saw...
So one is new versus reupholster.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is it's best to go with the reupholster, looking at the chairs that we have. It's better to do that from a financial point.
Okay, and it says 2 brown club chairs. Is that the 2 chairs that are right up there?
The 2 brown club chairs are the chairs.
Just as a point of order, member comment is generally the opportunity for the board to hear members raising issues, but this is kind of almost like a committee report to the board going on, and just we were kind of noodling. From a procedural standpoint, I would prefer, and I think the David Sterling's Open Meeting Act really looks for member comment to be much more, I would say, one-sided from the membership. Now, this is on the committee appointments, or is this?
Yes.
This is ultimately related, but we're going kind of into the weeds of what the committee is reporting versus the committee appointments. So I'm.
What I always suggest with all my boards is that in a regular meeting, we'll have committee reports, time for each committee chair to report on their committee and provide things. If you have bids that you would like the board to review, we like to have them the week before the meeting so we can have it in the board packet for them so they can all look it over. And then at the meeting during the committee report, you can talk about those bids that you've presented. The board is not allowed to discuss things that aren't on the agenda, and that's not on the agenda this time.
Which is why I asked my question.
Sure,
That's
exactly,
right, yeah.
exactly. It's a great
That's-
question, and that's
we're gonna get
exactly
there.
where I'm getting. That's exactly where I'm getting. So, right now, Jane is the person that you would be sending any bids that you have to. So you can email manager
At anatoliahoa.org.
at anatoliahoa.org. You can also send them to me. I'll give you my business card, so you can send them to me as well, because I'm actually the one that's putting together board packets and stuff. So I'll leave you my cards. Either way, she'll give them to me, or you can send them directly to me. And then if we have them the week before, when I put the board packet together, then they'll have all those things with you. If you have minutes you want to share with the board, you can send them on to me and I'll send them on, or you can bring them to the meeting, whatever.
And as just a point of reference, looking at bids, which is kind of what's happening, if someone's in the audience going, oh, I would have submitted a bid had I known this, I work for the competitor or whatnot, there's the appearance of, wait a minute, it wasn't on the agenda, review bids for X. And so we've kind of creeped into it, whereas if management's getting these by X days prior to the meeting, automatically you can fold it in to the agenda, and that avoids any pushback of well, I didn't know, if I had known you were going to review bids, I would have had it in timely. And instead it was, under the committee, the bid made it to the board and got reviewed. So that's part of the transparency that and on a go-forward basis, I want to be sure nobody thinks they're getting kind of a special
Right.
chance to have a separate review, so.
Those are all important considerations for fairness and for all of those things. And an important consideration also is a lot of things in the clubhouse really need attention, and they need it soon. Do we have the ability, under the, I believe there's a threshold, dollars threshold, that management has discretion, do we have the ability to, does the Interior Committee have the ability to go to management and say, here's a bid, it's below the threshold, let's go do it?
That to me is part of a bigger question of what authority is the board, who's the ultimate decider.
Well, there's an existing threshold.
Right, but what's that?
I just said, wait.
Yeah, what authority is the board empowering the committee to direct? Because management may have that call, but if the dollar amount's X less than X, and the committee, the board has said, management, anything meets this threshold, you're authorized to green light. Fine. There has to be. I don't want to ever have a scenario where at a board meeting, you go, well, why'd you guys spend X dollars on this? And management says, because the committee told us, and the board said, well, we didn't agree to that.
I don't like the color.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like the color.
So to the question that Pat raised and that Tom's kind of furthering, I'm just looking here, there's 2 ottomans, reupholster for $250 each, total of $500. It needs it. The ottomans need that.
Is it same for same color?
Yeah, they're going to change it so they're all uniform.
Do we have the ability, what's the mechanism? I'm just picking that as an example. There could be another example. Something that needs to get done, we've got a price, it's $500.
Let me complicate this a little more, and I want to get your input on management. A replacement of an ottoman is not a repair, it's a replacement.
It's
Now, is that coming from
It's a
reserve?
reupholstery in this example.
Okay, okay. And so that's a conversation in terms of the spending that I really want management and board to have a very clear understanding, because some of these things drift. And that's where, I hear new ottoman and I go reserve.
Well, no,
and then I go, no, reupholster. Is that a maintenance component that was built into the operating, or is this money really, in the grand scheme of things, coming from reserves? Because I want the members to know when they're looking at their annual, well, we spent this money.
Right.
Why do reserves go down? Because, we replaced or reupholstered a bunch of stuff. Of course it should. Or no, this is a line item in our operating and it seamlessly goes. We're talking money, I want to be sure we're clear.
Agreed. So we're just looking for, what's the process? I mean, Pat raised the question, what's the process? The interior and exterior committees are both doing great research, they're doing comparatives. How can we get their recommendations brought forward?
Can I ask a question real quick? The prior board, when we started the village committee, we couldn't move unless we made the recommendation to the board. Now, when the board looked and says, hey Greg, you put these 6 bids in front of me, what, like Bruce is saying, if this is coming out for a replacement, it came out of the reserves. We got stopped because there was no reserves to say, hey, if we're going to spend X number of dollars, we need to make sure it's there. That's why we had to stop. So the protocol that we were told is that you make sure that whatever's in your reserves, if it's a replacement, it's coming out of the reserves, because that line item, when it changes, has to be recorded so that if a member asks, well, how did it go from this to that, you can explain it. We did this for the cost of this, that, and everything else. Now, what you're asking about is just a replacement or a repair. That could come out of Jane says, hey, I'm going to have these done and it's $300. She could just sign that off and write it off because she has a budget that she's working for. Right, that's what I'm saying. But I do know what I was saying, that we were told as a committee, anytime that the committee wants to move and there's a dollar cost, it has to be resubmitted back to the board for them to give you the approval to make sure that we've got this end covered here in order for you guys to move forward. But the committee should never, I didn't think, had a scope to say, hey, you guys can spend $10,000. Because then that means somebody's writing a check for $10,000 and you guys didn't even see it until it's already done and over, a month later. So that's why I said, from what I'm hearing,
Craig, as long, and to that end, as long as the board is giving clear direction regarding the disbursement of funds, it could say, the board is authorized up to X hundred or X $1,000 for replacement trees, for you fill in the blank, whatever, subject to the recommendation of the committee. The board has now said, we're letting the committee decide the textile, the color, you name it. And we have authorized them to expend up to X dollars, and the chair of the committee can run with that. So from a board standpoint, you don't have to, this is that policy-based versus management, and where your role is. You get the luxury of saying, do you want to be the gatekeeper for every expenditure, or do you want to look to a committee, give them some authority and say, run with it?
Well, we have an existing threshold. At one, I don't recall, I think it was changed by the old board not too long ago.
the 2,000,
Is it
2,500.
2,500? Okay. So if Tom is here with something that's less than 2,500, then am I correct in saying that doesn't even, I mean, he could go and just say, this is below management thresholds, go for it.
If the board has said that the committee chair has the authority,
Okay.
just by being a member of a committee, I want to spend this money, the board is the ultimate gatekeeper. The board has said, management, up to the threshold, the chair of the committee is authorized to spend. I want to just be clear that I always want the board to have a paper trail that we can look back and say that the board authorized those funds to be expended, versus there's any confusion as to management whether they should or shouldn't. They can always look back and go, oh, this is, the board resolution was, committee is authorized to expend $2,500 for furniture refurbishment as they see fit, period.
So could we do that motion tonight, or is it not allowed because it's not on the agenda?
That's an expenditure item. The agenda is just an appointment.
Okay.
So, yep.
So what ability do we have, I'm just going to continue with this example. Upholstery of 2 ottomans for $500. It's below the thresholds that management could.
I'm comfortable with authorizing that right now.
Do you have a contractual relationship with management that they get a, here's a proposal to do X dollars, and they have the authority under their contract to spend that money? The board will not be able to say, who told you to do that?
Right.
The board has told you to
So
do
if
that.
Tom just goes through these line items and says what his committee is recommending, and if they happen to each be less than the 2.5.
I just want to make sure you guys like the color. I don't want you to come back and say.
Can the individual committees meet with just the board to present?
Yeah,
Or
so
does
I
it
think
have to be
why
a
not
meeting?
take the additional?
So why can't we do it? Why do we have to do it
today?
today? Is there a reason why we have to do it today?
Have to do it today.
So because we have an agenda, and let us get through the agenda first, then we can come back to this.
Oh, that's fine.
So-
We just wanted to know what to do with the stuff that we did.
Yes, so for that, let us make sure that all of us get a copy of that so that we can review it. So, and then we can.
So then in the future, if you have bids, it's really fast to get them to me a week before. Here's my card. A week before the meeting, I'll make sure it's on the agenda for you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Todd.
So perhaps we should set a date to start to have those meetings,
For
okay,
expenditure.
where people come to us so that we can,
And decide how much you
Right.
want to spend some money.
what the cost of the rest.
Absolutely.
So the exterior committees identified a health and safety hazard that's ongoing today. So how do we kind of deal with that?
What is it?
There's no chlorine in the pool. We had 2 different pool people that said that they're out of chlorine. So there is no
They
chlorine.
check,
Not a salt.
and today,
And then
and
checking it, and
They
the
check it
chemical
every
levels
day.
are coming through
they
good.
check it every day. Yeah, they check it every day and the chemical levels. are
Every
fine.
3
And
hours.
that's the same company that we're recommending getting rid of.
No, it's our pool monitors. It's a different
Okay,
percentage.
the difference is-
It's every 3 hours.
Two different professional companies that met with Pam said that there was nothing, and it's just blowing bubbles in the chlorine.
Because the county came out too and checked and they said it was fine.
How long ago was that?
Did they come last
The
week?
31st?
Okay, yeah, so like I said, this is
Yeah,
the last 2 days.
The big tank out there for chlorine is empty, as is the one for acid. The one for chlorine is just, it's not blowing anything. There's nothing going through the pipes. You can go right out there and look yourself.
Okay.
So apparently,
Well,
if
but
chlorine,
are they testing the water itself? Not
They're
just looking at what's in the tank? What
They're
matters is what's
testing
in
the
the
Testing
pool
the pool
water.
water.
Every 3
water.
hours to make sure that the pH and chlorine levels
if
are
I
at safe
could,
levels.
They're checked.
if I could address that, because I had a guy out here today and he did the dipstick into the pool, and our numbers were low.
Okay.
They weren't even registering. They were way low, and those pools are very cloudy, which is an indication.
Okay, we can have somebody come out and check it for sure. And if you find something that's a health and safety issue, let me know right away. That's the key. Don't wait for a meeting. Call
It
me.
just came up today.
Yeah.
You have my email, Pam.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
call me, email me, let me know right away.
So how do we deal with the problem of the company being the problem?
Well, could we have the multiple companies come out like tomorrow at the same time so that everyone sees what everyone else is measuring, so that we don't have a, well, they said this, but they said that?
Pam's been putting that all together. We're ready to present the next couple of days. We need the opportunity to be able to
Okay.
do that.
Okay, that's.
So that's already kind of been started in.
Right on.
Yeah, let-
So can we have our existing supplier come
Yeah,
tomorrow?
we will have Lance come out and check and show us the.
And maybe set up a
stuff.
time that works so that all of the people can be there at the same time and get
So
this knocked out?
So Bruce, the presentation from the committee members, does it have to be like an open board meeting, or is it like something separate as per?
I was gonna say, if the board's there, it's a board meeting, so.
Okay.
And there's only those 4 things that I told you can be an executive session, so everything else is in an open meeting. So, for the next agenda, we'll put committee reports, and any committee that has a report that wants to come can do it. If they don't come, we'll just put no report.
Okay.
Well, we're also
Just make sure.
requesting a vote on contracts for the pool company.
The pool company?
So
Okay.
what I'm hearing is it has to be a board meeting.
Yeah, so at a board meeting, you'll have your committee report, and you can tell me anything specifically that you want on the agenda, so I can make sure it's on the agenda.
We just want to be able to present the bids and.
And yeah, that's not a vote, that's a board just telling management, giving management direction to go out to bid for pool monitors. So if you guys are recommending that, that's all you need to do at the meeting, during your report, is recommend that they go out for bid. And then we can do.
We've already put them out for bid, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, then just.
We want
send
to
me
present
those
it, we
bids.
want to be able to get
Right,
it
so send me the
switched,
bids.
because we feel like it's a liability that's costing us money today.
Perfect. So send me the bids, I'll get it on the agenda, and we'll have it for the next meeting.
Do we know how long that's going to be, is that?
When's the next meeting? A lot, I don't know, you'll have to ask them. They have a
Okay, then that's a
meeting
question for you guys.
Well,
When
and so from your standpoint of the committee members, of the committee people, how close are you to want to report?
we'd like to be able to talk in a week.
2 days from today, 4 days?
tonight. They were at the table.
Oh, I know.
There is not just that. There are other companies.
Can we make it for a week?
Okay, so we would be the 21st, right, from today.
I'm fine going sooner.
Yeah.
Let's just,
Was it on 3?
Well, we have an executive meeting that
And
day
it's
anyway.
let's,
We didn't
So,
check the spot.
yeah,
You
but,
want it to be sooner than a week,
Donuts for kids.
or a week?
I just have a question
We're ready.
for management. Since you say you check the pool every 3 hours,
I don't.
well, whoever checks it every 3 hours, is there a log for that?
Yes,
And
yes.
is that log,
We
is
have to
that
keep
something
the
that
log.
can be presented? Instead of everyone being there? If it's a log, that's the pool is at this level, at this hour, it's at that level, at this hour, this much chlorine has been added. then that's something that can be shown to the individuals that come out and check it out. But there is a law for that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
we
we have-
legally have to do that.
And-
It's county
Yeah, I know,
Texas.
that's why I'm asking.
And we have had to shut down like one of the spas because the pH balance was off. So we had to add a little bit of chemicals and wait for that to change, go back and check it, and then we reopen it. So, I mean, our pool monitors have been doing what they've been doing, and no alarms have come up about the chlorine levels being off, so I'm not sure, I'm gonna look into it.
So what Todd
If I-
is talking about, is that something that maybe this guy doesn't know how to check? I mean, is
No,
that?
if they've had pool companies is what they're talking
Yeah, I
about.
mean, that, because they came out and checked and said there was no chlorine in the pool. And the pool was cloudy, which anyone that has a pool, I mean, that means there's no chlorine.
We'll have Lance, the pool guy.
I'm emailing him right
Currently
now.
That currently has contract to come out tomorrow. And then we can see what they say too. Yeah?
Since this got brought up, one thing I would like to address is I've been here a lot over the course of the last 2 weeks with the contractors. I've had other members of the board. I've had the occasion and the ability to watch our pool monitors testing the water on more than one occasion, and they're not doing it right. They're skimming water off the top and adding chemicals and saying, oh, it's okay. And that's not okay. They have to dip in elbow deep into that pool before they pull up water. And they have to make sure the water is at a specific spot on the gauge. And I sat there the other day and saw the pool tested twice, and it was skim off the top, drop water in, boop, let it go. No making sure it was where it should be, and definitely not deep enough.
So to
Thank
Pam's
you for letting
point,
me know, Pam.
to her point,
Very
that's why it kind of seems like it would be a good idea to have, if this person's gonna say it's off, and this person's gonna say it's right, it kind of makes sense to have them there at the same time.
There you go.
Versus, oh, at 1 o'clock they said it was great, and at 3 o'clock they said there's nothing and the tank's empty or whatever. Or at 4 o'clock they said it was great.
But Craig, we've identified a lot more than just that.
Well-
Part of the pool doctor's contract is to clean that back water feature, and the same, I think it was Dr. Pepper can?
Right.
What, same aluminum can has been
I'm
in
just
there
talking
the
about
whole time.
the question on the chemicals.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that it's a lot larger than that. That's why we're pushing for it to be solved today,
Thank you,
because
and I'm loving that.
I think Pam identified 25 grand, I think we spent to date
Oh,
on the pool
12,000.
service, and it's,
12,000 on chemicals since January.
So that's why I'm saying, wouldn't it make sense if there's a dispute over what the level really is?
Well, here's.
but again, it's
here's-
bigger than that. We feel like pool doctors just gotta go.
And just so you know.
They've had the opportunity
Can we have a
for
few more people?
15 years.
So that you understand, the pool companies, the pool maintenance companies that have come out and tested the water, every single one of them has said our chemicals are off. The only company that is saying our chemicals are fine is Pool Doctor.
And the concrete people have also said that we
Right.
have issues with pools going on.
Yeah.
Right, so,
It's not just the chemical people.
I do have something, I have a pool, and if your chlorine and it is cloudy, because you're gonna have hotter days, you're supposed to be in the triple digits, that stuff can turn overnight, you'll start having allergies.
Turning already.
Okay, so the thing is that you need to have the pool doctor come out here like about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock before you open up, because you actually, if they're pouring, if anybody's pouring chemicals, they're not pouring enough with all those gallons back there. So that's why they have tanks, because it's bled in. So the thing is, you need to have the pool doctor come out here early morning, because if he has to cycle it for 2 to 3 hours, nobody's getting in that pool. You're gonna put numeric acid in, you're gonna put chlorine. The numeric acid works first, then the chlorine goes back behind it. Then you need to check it on a regular basis, like you're saying, every 3 hours, because the more bodies you get in there, it starts to drop fast, and you can't recover. The problem is people try to recover, and they don't get it, and next thing you know, you're pouring too much chlorine in there, and people are getting burned. So the doctor needs to come out early morning, whenever this is, early morning, because it has to be at least 3 hours before you open. Because that's what those tanks are for. Oh, and the other thing too is, if you're staff, it's real simple. You can take them right down here in Rancho Cordova, the pool, I think it's called Callan Pools. They'll test your water for free, but they'll also teach you how to test your water. Because you're absolutely right, you have to go down, pull it up, and then you add the drops to it. But if you're having so many bodies, and that's what your monitor should be looking at, how many bodies are getting into that water, that's when you have to go out there. So it may not be every 3 hours, it could be 2 hours, because the more bodies that go into that water, guess what? Your chlorine starts to drop, and so does your pH. So you have to be cognizant of how many bodies you got going into that water and how many people are out there. And all it takes is you going down, pulling it up, and then start adding drops. Then you have to calculate that machine to put in more something that's in there so it stays balanced. Because like I said, once it goes down, it's hard to recover.
So the exterior committee's done some great research. Sounds like they've got multiple bids for multiple contractors. Let's make sure we've got the process right so that we can hear and consider their recommendation and get it implemented. So
when do you want to present? You want to do it in a week? You want to do it in 4 days, 5 days?
Week's fine. 4 days is fine.
I've asked for bids ASAP. I already have one really good bid.
So are you expecting more?
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we can do it next
yeah, but how about next
Thursday?
Tuesday? Even sooner than that. How about next Tuesday, the 19th?
Tuesday? So what do you guys say? Is it Tuesday or Thursday?
Let's go Tuesday.
Either way is fine.
Well, one thing you might want to check is other committee meetings, because several of us that sit in here are on other committees that may be meeting on Tuesday.
Right. So am I hearing
So
then
Thursday might be better.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thursday the 21st.
Tuesday's fine.
All right. So Thursday the 21st. So is there a motion that is required? Or we just put it on the calendar?
We'll need to put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
So you guys will have recommendations on pool contractors,
And whether you're emailing Pool Doctor, all the filters are back.
Or you
You
have
can
to-
backwatch too.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and set the meeting for June 21st for 7 p.m.
so let's get the process right, because I don't want the same thing to happen that kind of happened with interior. So what do they need to do?
So just give me the bids, send me the bids,
I
Can
will
you
get them to
email
you as,
or you can drop them off to Jane.
yeah, I will get them to you as quickly as I get them. I'm gonna have to call everybody and tell them I have to have bids by Monday.
Okay, perfect, that works.
Now,
That works.
And the agenda will be to hear committee.
Agenda.
And we're hoping to vote June.
Right. So we'll,
Thursday. So we'll have the agenda posted by Monday morning.
right, so and the agenda is that we will, one of the agenda items is that we will hear,
Just tell me the agenda items now, then we don't have to go through the approval and wait for you to approve it. So we
Right.
just want to do committee reports,
committee
and then
reports.
whatever committees present.
Keep going, but committee reports also, if based on the report, the board wants to make a change in the contract, I would also want the board to have that authority as well. So,
Yeah, so under the, if committees give me agenda items they want to have, like to approve pool bids, then I will put those in there so that you have that authority to approve them.
okay.
So they'll have it, they'll probably have something.
Yeah, so can we do this for interior as well?
Do you have a date and time when you would prefer, give me your, to have the committee say, we would like to present?
Typically, if I have a
And then that would
meeting-
be your, the
My
end
dead
of it.
drop dead
Your
date?
drop dead.
Typically, if I have a meeting on Thursday, I get the board packet out the Thursday prior.
So you need this
But
information.
we're not doing that this time. So Monday, if I get it Monday, then I can put the board packet and get it to them by Tuesday.
So it sounds like, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm Larry Oakley, I don't know you. It sounds like she's saying if she gets it by Monday, it can, so maybe that should be.
But if there's agenda
way you
items,
wanna
I need
function.
to know before that, so send that on the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't need to have bids until Monday to put in the board packet. But if you have an agenda item, a committee chair sends me an agenda item to put under their committee report, like pool or furniture approval, then, and that the bids are forthcoming, then I can add that to the agenda.
That
And we've already
information-
identified that for.
Yes, I know, I got you.
That information should be codified in some manner and presented to all the committees so they'll know
Right.
this is how, so if it can be written, kind of short and
Right, I
sweet,
understand.
given to all committees,
Right.
that would be a good way to function.
Yep.
And since I am talking, another suggestion I would have is that you start using name placards, because I apologize.
No, I'm just thinking of the other committee, because I know as the bylaws, we've been working on some things, and there may be that the chair will want to make some comments, so I want to make sure that there's something on the agenda that he can speak if he chooses.
Yep, I'll have all of these, yeah.
Okay.
But the question I have is, how do we vote? So we get the committee reports, how do we vote? Because don't we need to know if we have the money available? And how do we know if we have the money available?
You, in the board packet that I sent you, that's in the board-only folder, has the financials all in there for you to look at.
Oh, the looking side.
It's in your board packet.
Okay, because it's not just a matter of $500 with Tom, it's a matter of
Right, but I,
10,000 or 12,000.
Right, and then they've got a huge amount, I'm sure.
yeah,
No, just the full
but I gave
contract
you
right now.
financials.
Just ringing a bell from an earlier point that was made, my inner, if you know Sherry Kimbrough, my inner Sherry Kimbrough is coming out. A liability concern, Jane, you said that you were going to be driving around doing inspections temporarily. As was with Nick, have we figured out what vehicle that's happening in? Do we have like a record of your drivers?
Personal vehicle.
And that's on our insurance?
Our insurance has that umbrella that covers any employee's vehicle to do any work-related errands for, it's like, it's a big list of the descriptions, but yes, it is covered.
Okay, and for anybody else that's doing driving around, I mean, with Nick as well, but we have like driving record history, we have all that information for anyone that's doing any driving for us under that umbrella?
We can, if that's requested, we can do that. I mean, I don't know if that's allowed or, is that, I don't know what the
They're
process was.
licensed, also proof of insurance, as a hiring prerequisite, you may want to consider background checks and other types of things.
We want to know if they have accidents,
Oh, I
asphalt,
think
those kind of
absolutely,
things.
because a lot of the new staff that I'm seeing are behind the desk where all of our deeds and social security numbers and all that stuff, and if we're not doing background checks for any of them,
Do you guys keep social security numbers?
No, we
well,
don't
there's
have
at least, 2,028 homes, we have all of their information and files for people that we're not checking on.
But, you know, I'm sorry you said the magic word there, you said social security numbers. Do we keep social security numbers for anybody?
No.
Okay. Thought I'd check.
So this is something that we're gonna do?
I have a question.
So, in the interest of time, I mean, we really need to get through the
Did I get an answer?
agenda
I don't feel
items.
like I got
I
an
mean, we
answer.
can keep going on about
It's an
so
open
many.
forum.
I mean, open forum, I mean, we have, so we can entertain maybe a few more questions and then we need to move on.
I just wanted to, because we're looking at the two massage rooms, they're not accessible, they're full of junk.
File boxes.
Probably stuff we should have background checks for.
Okay.
If there's any way to clear those out, because we're looking at doing some bidding and changing those rooms.
So is that something that you guys can take a look at?
Oh, you're gonna
They
do
need a
it.
storage facility.
But it should.
They're all the
What are those boxes?
they're from NCM.
Someone wants a massage right now that's not accessible at all.
Okay.
So even that.
The lights you have to do.
So maybe you guys can take a look at it
I
and
think
see if we can.
need a storage unit or something.
A temperature controlled storage unit because of all the people.
Temperature control for paper.
Paper? Storage. We can work on that.
Okay.
That can be a management item.
But
All right,
how
so-
long are we required to keep some of these documents? I mean, can any of it be destroyed? I mean,
There
does
are
anybody
some
go through on a
documents-
periodic, time frame and destroy items?
Some documents need to be retained
Forever.
indefinitely,
As long as they
particularly
say
the architectural
Is there room in the front office for that storage?
Shouldn't those be in the filing cabinets upstairs?
No, have you seen the boxes?
There's
There's
25, there's
the room
25
is
paper boxes.
Full of boxes.
Well, I know, but you just said the key word to take Bruce's architectural, that's all
Yes, I
upstairs.
did not finish. I believe most of the architectural applications and approvals are stored in the file folders and locked drawers upstairs. The files that I saw in the Sonic room were primarily violation histories.
So the documents that we keep, that we have to keep indefinitely, can we put those in a safe deposit box? Since we have multiple banking accounts? I mean, we have to keep them.
Very
You're
good,
right,
very
we need to
good.
keep them.
We have quite a few.
I don't think they have a box
file
big
cabinets
enough.
worth of-
Sorry?
We have quite a few
We
file
need the entire
cabinets full
vault.
of those applications. and-
Okay, but you're saying that architectural, so there's certain documents that we can put someplace like that, since we're talking temperature control.
Well, those are already, I don't think it needs to be temperature controlled, but the architectural stuff is already
And I'm getting
kept
confused
upstairs.
because you said temperature control.
I said temperature control,
Temperature
because
control,
it's a
so we can just get a storage bin.
documentation.
I'm sorry?
So why don't we, so let us do this, why don't we let them figure it out and we'll get back, to you guys on that, maybe during the next meeting, so maybe you can, look into that, Adam, and maybe give a report on the next Thursday.
A storage unit facility consortium, we have a paper box for storage or find a storage.
So
unit.
we don't need an answer right now, but maybe you guys can take a look at it and get back to us on that, so.
I have a question on the inspection committee. And that I have, and so has Sherry, reached out, we've tried to get a meeting scheduled. I'm not getting responses from anybody of the ones that are on the new list. Apparently, there's supposed to be a chair, an existing chair, which is, I think it's Sherilyn Meadows, but the board out front says there is no chair.
We're going to be taking that up when we get to committee appointments in the next agenda item.
Okay.
All right, so let us
Thank you,
get
Pam, for
through
bringing it up.
the committee appointments, let us go through that.
Okay.
And
Bruce, could you tell us the process for chairs?
Under Corporations Code 7210, California law says the buck stops with the board. And subject to any provisions in your bylaws that change that, the board makes all ultimate decisions. And so you'd ask me kind of who makes the appointments of the chairs. And it's ultimately because under Corporations Code 7231, boards are entitled to rely upon the recommendations of committees as part of your decision-making process. It flows back to the board designating who that chair of the committee is. So that ultimately in the chain of command, you as a board make the decision of who chairs the committee, and then you can turn around and say, we're going to review this information from the committee, and if we rely upon it, we get business judgment protection for our decisions, and we get business judgment protection for the decision itself. And California law does not want to armchair quarterback you. When you make a decision in good faith and best interest of the community as a whole, and based on reasonable inquiry, including recommendations from committees, recommendations from management, recommendations from legal counsel are examples. Courts don't want to second guess you, and even if you're wrong, you aren't liable for making that decision because you did it using the 3 prongs that the law requires. And so, to be typical, long-winded answer, but it really flows back to the law wants boards to be able to make decisions and not be second-guessed. And so the law says it would start with the board designating who the chair is of the committee.
Okay. So, given that,
Wow.
I don't understand that. Would you repeat that?
Yeah.
Speak up.
Got it. Committees are designed to advise the board. And the board is allowed to make decisions that consider that committee, and the law will respect that right. And because of that, the law starts with the premise that the board identifies the chair of the committee so that it can receive the information and make a decision. To do otherwise would allow the decision-making for how the board gets its information to not be in the board's control. Yes?
Okay. I kind of find that biased because when our committee started, Phil says, you guys pick your chair because we shouldn't have anything to do with that. Because if the board is implementing, we want you as chair, then that's like a biased, well, I don't know really how to put it, but it's basically like biased because that chairperson could have an ongoing relationship with the board. So here it is. If the committee picks their chair, they're doing it amongst themselves. But you have a chair that reports back to the board as to whatever's going on. Just like invitations. Hey, we want to invite one of the board members to come to one of our committees because we're getting ready to make a decision. Now, the confusion is, I'm told one thing, but then I'm hearing something different over here. So it's like, and I guess I need to apologize to the board is because Craig said something and you're clarifying what he's saying, but Phil and the rest of the board told me something different.
Right, and one of the
well, don't say it's surprising because what I'm saying.
Here's kind of how I ultimately, if you're a member of the villas, if the board, we have an election, we're in the middle of an election process right now, and by October we're going to have a fully elected board. If you're a member of the villas and the board doesn't pick the chair, the committee that affects you and villas pay extra.
Correct.
So the committee that's advising the board would end up that no elected person has any say whatsoever over who that chair is. And the converse of that is, at the very least, the board is accountable as an elected body for who they pick as the chair. To not allow that, to say, I'm elected, but I don't even have a say over who the chair is of the committee, allows, there is no accountability. And I realize it's very attenuated, but at the end of the day, the villas believes that the board has picked the wrong chair. The villas at election time seeks to vote out the board to say, put in new board members that are going to pick a better chair. The converse of that is, this board says, I'm sorry, we don't have any say, it's not our call, and you have nobody that you can seek to vote in any way, shape, or form. So it's a real, it's as attenuated as it is, the converse is nobody has the ability to change that chair within the corporate structure.
But it sounds like what Pam was saying is that the person in the committee that you're referring to, who's supposed to be the chair, is AWOL, right?
We don't know. Jane's been trying to get a hold of her. I don't even have her contact information.
So,
I guess there's a couple of other people on that committee that I don't even know anything about, and neither do any of the new
well, hold
appointees.
on. So what we wanted to do with this meeting was to sort of review each of the committees to see who's there, who's, I think we expected or hoped that there might have been a larger turnout for all the committee members. But so let's go through that. And in the case of these committees that we're referring to, let's throw them out. Whoever is not responsible, let's just throw them out. And
Before you go down that road, let's go back and reevaluate what Bruce said as far as the board having the authority to make its determination on how a committee leader will be put on any committee. They can basically say, you guys choose. You still have the authority to replace whoever is the leader on that committee. So what he's saying is correct. I'm just telling you the other side of the point.
But that's what I'm saying.
So no, I'm saying you can leave it just the way it is. As a authority, this board can say, here at Anatolia, we will let you committees decide who will be that voice. Now, if they're not cutting it, you have the authority to go back and say you're out.
But that's what I just said.
Well,
that's not how it came
No,
across.
that's not what I heard. And this is contrary, and it's true.
Wait, it's true.
It's the-
Wait, what I said.
Then we're in agreement.
What I said was, let's go through what the committees are. Let's hear who is supposed to be there. If somebody is not responsive, we throw them out.
Right. But
Okay,
that's
but
not
you
what-
don't need to do that right now.
No, we have to do it right now. We're in a point
You
where
do
we're
it all,
saying.
you're doing it constantly. This is what you're doing anyways. Do you understand?
Larry, we're trying to move the thing along. We would like to get to a point where we have reports from the committees.
Right.
Now, how can we have a report from the committee if there is no committee?
Then you gotta fix that committee.
Well, that's
But
what I'm
I'm
saying.
speaking something specifically to what Bruce said, and maybe you're parsing between what you're saying and between what I'm addressing his
I think that you guys are
comments.
saying two separate things. You're talking about a
Yes.
committee chair that nobody's able to get a hold of.
Get a hold of,
That's
right,
fine.
and that's not
That's
the point.
fine, that's fine. What he's talking about in appointing committee chairs,
Right.
and he's saying the board has the right, which they do, to say, committees, you can pick your own chairs. So that's up to the board how they wanna do it.
I'm
Either
good with
appoint
that.
committees
I mean,
or
the
let the
committee can
committees
pick
appoint
their
their
own
own
chair.
chairs.
But in the absence.
Those are different
There's
things.
a different, two different things.
Are you wanting
Thank
to
you.
different?
But the committee that you're referring to, who is the chairperson you're referring to?
Sherilyn Meadows, I
Sherilyn
think?
Meadows.
How did
But
she get
isn't
to
he-
be?
But isn't Andy part of that committee? Because the last time I was upstairs, it was Sherilyn Meadows and Andy. They were meeting. Aren't you part of that committee, Andy?
I am.
So who made Sherilyn the
The chair.
head of the
Yeah.
committee?
My understanding at the moment, Sherilyn is not the chair.
Right.
The committee still needs to have in minutes that they've put her in that position.
She's been an
Andy's
existing
correct.
member of that committee until new people were recently appointed.
Oh, so then,
There it is.
But we can't get a response.
Todd, what would I say? What would I say to that person? You know
Fired.
me. No, it's another word I would use.
I'm not saying that.
But you know, okay, whisper that to them. So, goodbye. So just make it.
I would not feel that that was appropriate. Sherilyn's been serving, from my understanding, over 2 years.
And she's an excellent member of that committee.
And she
knows
is,
what
and I can verify.
There was
Okay,
a
so
document
then-
that was handed out that showed that she existed, and it had on there the date of the meeting, and that's why Andy went to that meeting.
Okay.
And
But
Jane is speaking to her abilities.
She-
It
I
sounds like so is Greg, so I
She
would
is a
think
busy
that would
woman.
make
She
Grant.
does
Dan
have her own
brought up the
job.
subject that the person's not around. So what I'm saying is, so if the person's not around.
If I
and
met
you
with
can't-
her, I would say she's around. She came to our last meeting.
So, okay, so,
But those of us that are new to the board, or new to the committee, we're not being informed
Informed.
that there's a meeting.
That's what she said.
I knew nothing.
Andy was new to the committee, she read the
yeah.
paper.
I'm
I
not
didn't get it.
Right.
I didn't know anything about
So there's
it.
a lack of
There you go.
communication, that's all it is, it's a lack of communication.
Right.
If these new boards or committees have been appointed, then you just need to put something on the website saying, hey, this is a new committee, this is a person placed as a temporary point of contact, because it's not been happening.
Or
Like I
maybe
said,
you guys
that is-
identify the first meeting, so there
It's-
is a meet and greet.
It's not a new committee, it's existing,
Oh,
it
no,
meets
it's
once a
an
month.
existing committee.
No, I
That's what I'm
understand,
saying, is
but
nobody
the problem is
knows
certain people, it sounds like,
None of us-
aren't
Nobody
getting.
knew.
but this is being presented to us.
Right, for the first
As a
time.
problem from the board, from our,
The
right?
problem-
So
The
so
problem
you're asking
the
for
problem
a
apparently,
Solomon-esque decision, I'm saying.
the problem apparently is that the old committee had an existing calendar date once a month that they met. However, none of that information has been relayed to the new members.
Okay.
So we don't know anything about it.
Okay, so why don't we do that right now? Okay, so why don't we go step by step? And first, let's go ahead and confirm the members of the committee. And then let the committee choose their chair. And then maybe we can start calendaring, put some tentative dates for the meetings, and then we can publish it in our website.
They
or-
typically will schedule their own meetings.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they
that's
have been.
fine,
We've
but we
already
just
met,
need
They
to.
have
made
been.
a
A
meeting
lot of them
dates.
have been meeting and doing
So,
work.
but the problem is that we just need to put it in a forum where everybody knows
Exactly.
that the committee is meeting. So maybe it can be our website, or it could be in the notice board, where something, needs to be posted so that everybody can know about
And
it.
if everybody knows about it and they're seeing it on the website, like what you're speaking of, Vermont, then somebody can say, hey, I'd like to join a committee and it's on a particular night. Boom, that's it. That's all you're doing, is just making
So
people
let's-
public and aware.
Right, so let's go ahead and let's first, go through the names, right? And make sure that, I don't know,
So
I don't
not
think-
everyone on all these committees is here tonight.
Right.
I mean, I see some of them, but nowhere close to all of them.
Right. So how do we want to go ahead with this? That, as to we just let the committees choose their chair? Or is
It's
there?
up to you guys.
Well, we
We've
can
already
let them
chosen our
say, and
chairs.
then it would be us saying, okay, motion, second, approved, and it's that person.
All right, so do we want to start with the inspection committee, just the way it is?
Well, inspection committee includes these people, plus these are the ones that were approved, that were added on the 29th. That's the list you have. In addition, there are two other ones who are already on,
Okay.
which is Cheryl and Art.
Which I don't have that.
I like your suggestion of, if the committees want to make a recommendation of who should be chair, but ultimately the board
Exactly.
makes the call. That's a real good balance of,
Right.
we want the committees to do that, but at the same time, at the end of the day, the board makes the call. It's a great idea.
Okay, so since everybody is not here today, so it would be fair to just say that, let them, maybe discuss amongst themselves. And in our next board meeting on Thursday, they come with a recommendation as to who the chair is. And then we'll appoint them next Thursday. What do you think?
Good idea.
That's okay, as well as
I think a couple of
to
the,
make whatever report they have.
a couple of the groups have already decided the chairs.
Okay, so maybe, you can bring it up next Thursday and we will go ahead and approve them. Is that okay? Okay. So is there, can we add that as an agenda item too? So that, next Thursday, along with the committee reports, we hear the recommendation for the chairing of every committee?
We should probably do the agenda items, do first the
Chairs.
receiving the recommendation for who the chair, then we have a motion to say who the chair is, and let's say it's Tom Passerino, and then he'd be the one giving the, or whoever it would be, maybe it's Aaron, I don't know.
So you want to do it, so say the first committee report is inspection, so you want to have them do the inspection first, then say who their committee chair is,
No,
or say their committee chair?
the other way around.
Got it. That makes more sense. I just thought, I heard it the other way, so that makes it good.
So we appoint the chair first, then we'll hear what they have to say.
Got it.
Okay? So is there, I don't know how many people, I see like Andy and maybe just very few of them here. So do we just go forward with next Thursday? Maybe just see what the recommendations are for the chair and their reports straight away. And was there any other, Jen, was there any other new applicants since the last time we met? There is nothing.
No applicants, there's the one suggestion in the box that I gave Craig yesterday.
Okay. That was not an application, it was
No, it
just a
wasn't, it was just a
suggestion.
suggestion.
Okay. All right, so anything you want to add?
I think we've covered the things that were on the agenda. I'm glad we got clarity on the committee chair question, and then we're going to have our meeting next Thursday, the 21st, to hear recommendations from the committees on who they'd like to be the chair, have motions to appoint committee chairs to the board, and then to hear recommendations, including purchase recommendations from interior and contract recommendations from exterior. Aaron, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, we just had a proposal we wanted to present to the board for some of the furniture items.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to, can we do that tonight, or do we need to wait till next week?
I was up there, I got shut down. I got shut down.
That's it, and then wobbly up.
Either email me.
I have it.
These guys.
And while I will,
Just the committee chair do it. We'll tell you all about it, Aaron.
Let's keep going, let's keep going.
I would also suggest all the guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I would also suggest that whoever the committee members present, if you have like a regularly scheduled meeting date and time, just let the management know so that they can publish it on the website and post it on the notice board. So if it is a standing meeting, maybe we can just post it on the calendar likewise. For people. All right. So anything else that we need to talk about today? I see some of you have not yet signed up for the committees.
Although almost everybody in the room right now, I think, is on one or two at least.
So, yeah, some of them are on
Almost.
the road, but some of them are not, so, maybe you guys can,
Is there anybody on the landscape committee, village landscape committee?
that's
I don't
supposed to
have
be you,
anybody.
but you never signed up. So, you want to fill out an application so that we can add you?
You were brought up about a committee for,
Oh, yeah, neighborhood watch.
neighborhood watch?
Yes, so
What happened with that?
I just had a brief conversation with Bruce, so I'm going to come up with an agenda, charter for the committee. So definitely I'm going to bring that up.
Okay.
And maybe we can add a column here, Jim,
Yeah.
for the neighborhood watch
Okay.
committee. And just so you guys know, I also had some conversations with the sheriff, and I don't know if you guys noticed, there is some increased patrolling in this area.
Thank you.
I don't know how many of you noticed that. So hopefully,
It'll take you talking to him, but.
so, but we'll form a, Anatolia-wide neighborhood watch committee and make sure that, keep the neighborhood safe. All right?
Yep.
So if there's nothing else, then we can adjourn the meeting. All right, thank you guys.